Yo, welcome in to the Calcio Connection podcast. We are connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. I got to send a huge shout out to my co-host, Jerry Mancini. He held it down for me last week for part of the week. I was on vacation for another part of the week, actually for the entire week. My wife was sick. It was chaos at home. We even went on vacation with her being sick, and it was a whole thing. It was a crazy week. Jerry Mancini did an awesome job holding it down, even though he and I are now enemies after all the animosity between Lazio and Inter over the weekend. But I still smile at my enemies. Like I don't really hold grudges against anybody, but I've been told we're enemies now. We got a special guest for this episode. I wanted to make sure for my triumphant return that the Interisti outnumbered the Laziali. Now, we did have another Laziale we thought might join us, but he got a little bit busy. He couldn't hop on. So it's 2-1 in our favor, even though the game was 3-1 in Jerry's favor and Lazio's favor. We still have plenty to say about Lazio's 3-1 win over Inter at the Olimpico over the weekend. Thank God for me and Dave, Inter did bounce back with a Champions League victory over the giant killers Sheriff, who were sitting atop the group. I guess they still technically are sitting atop the group. Inter are the first team in Group D to take all 3 points from Sheriff, so I can have at least a partial smile on my face. But before we introduce our special guest, let me introduce Jerry Mancini. Jerry, good evening to you, sir. You're still riding high off of that Lazio win. How are you?
No, I stopped. I had a lot of Inter fans ask me, am I Phil? And I was like, okay, I'll stop.
I'm still waiting for an apology. Like I want you to apologize to Inter fans.
I would never talk to that Inter fan ever again. Okay, that was the only guy who broke my balls, and I was like, get out of here. But I was excited Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I treated it like a Scudetto because we don't win Scudettos. And people who banter me about that stuff, I don't care. It doesn't really bother me because I know what my club is. But when we can beat Inter, I will cherish it for 3 days because we don't get to beat them every time. Let's just be realistic. It doesn't happen all the time. So it's a big win, but when you really think about it at the end of the day, Roma was a big win too. And what happened? We shit the bed afterwards, and we couldn't do anything against Bologna. So as much as these wins are nice, when you can't beat the mid-table teams, there's not much to be so excited about, right? So at the end of the day, cherish it, I guess, and then keep going. Season's still long. You still got to play Inter one more time in January. I don't think it's going to be as easy next time. There'll be a healthier Inter side where Vidal will be back. There'll be a lot of key players back at the end of the day. So, but I think Inter is more happy with the result today as opposed to what it was on Saturday. I think that if they were to choose which game they would rather have won, today is the day that they would want to win, not Saturday, because Champions League has always been an issue for Inter. I don't remember the last time. I don't remember the last time they got a victory in Champions League. I don't even think they got one last year.
No, they got one last year.
Did they?
Yeah, I mean they did. They got 4th place in the group, but they did get a win last year over at least one over. I guess they maybe just one over Gladbach. They got a win over.
Yeah. Well, they still hold their own destiny at the end of the day. I think that's the most important thing is that they still hold their fate because they still have to play Sheriff one more time. And I know that you guys are we're gonna break down that game, but at the end of the day, I was just talking to Nima right now, and the defense, we'll talk after, is still the biggest glaring issue. Was an issue today, was an issue Saturday. But we'll talk more about it. I can keep going, but yeah. Overall, happy about the weekend, but keep moving now, and Thursday is the biggest day, Europa League, not this Champions League stuff.
Well, then the real league is the Conference League. That's the
I was saying good luck to all the teams, and I said good luck Champions League and Europa League for Milan, Inter, Juve, and Atalanta. And I think I forgot to put Atalanta. That's all bad.
Well, you hate them anyway. Don't worry about them.
No, I don't hate them. I just hate Gasperini. But I would never root for fucking Roma. Never. Not if you put a gun to my head, I would never say yes. But when I was saying the tweet, I completely forgot afterward. I'm like, oh, Conference League. But
And nobody, even Roma fans, don't care about Conference League. Like
yeah,
nobody
but
cares. It's just it's a
meanwhile they're
money
beating,
grab. It's like
meanwhile they're beating teams 5-0, acting like they're the best team in the league though.
yeah, because like the Conference League is basically Roma and then like fifth division teams from countries you've never heard of. Like it's the bottom of the barrel, bro. Like seriously, it's like
But let's introduce our
yeah.
guest, man.
You know him and you love him. Chances are, no matter what team you support, whether you're an Interista or not, you probably follow this man on Calcio Twitter, Dave, who's at Forza Inter Haiti on Twitter. So Dave, like me, got a smile on his face today, not so much over the weekend. How are you, sir?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of the show. I always listen, so it's
Thank
always a
you.
pleasure every time I get to join you guys. As you said, had you guys invited me a couple of days earlier, then my smile would have been a little more fake. But this is genuine. I'm happy. I just watched the game, and I'm in good spirits. So
Well,
Jerry, we'll
let
deal
me
with you
ask.
later.
Yeah, let me ask you the question that Jerry threw out there. If you agree that if you could only choose one win in the last two games, you could win one and lose the other. Would you have chosen the Sheriff game today? Because like I'm a little bit torn on it. I think Jerry's right. Like I think I would have chose to if I can only win one. I think I would have chosen the Sheriff game because if you hadn't won today, you can basically kiss any hopes of advancing in Champions League goodbye. Whereas in
Yeah.
Serie A, all your goals are still in front of you. Like it is still conceivably possible to win a Scudetto despite losing that game. But it was a really annoying game, and I wanted Inzaghi to be able to win in his first matchup against Lazio. But I think I agree with Jerry at the end of the day. Do you agree? Would you have chosen the victory over Sheriff if you could only have one?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. If had they told me this going into this week, I could only pick one win. It definitely had to be Sheriff, given how we've performed in the CL. We lost to Real Madrid and we drew with Shakhtar, so we desperately need the points. And as far as the Serie A goes, of course, like you said, with the history, we got Inzaghi from them, we got Correa. So just for those guys, I wanted for us to win and for their first trip there to be a success. But not only Lazio, we get to see them again in January, but Napoli, who are now the leaders of the Serie A, we played them twice.
Yeah.
So everything is still well within our control, and I guess later on we could talk more about how the season could go as far as Milan and Napoli, because we still got the African Cup of Nation coming up and stuff like that will affect both squads.
I have a question for you
Great
both,
call.
you guys. Actually, yeah, that is a good call. Actually, you're right. I think who knows how that will affect them. But I got a bigger question. Who cares about Napoli?
At the top right now, you have to care about them.
No, I know, but Joaquin Correa wasn't called on as a sub today. Like, is that a concern or is that just tactical where he didn't want to use him? He decided to use Alexis Sanchez. Like, was he on the bench today, Correa? I don't know. I'm just curious.
I believe so. I didn't have any problem with that today because if they to me, you have to kind of plan when you're in Champions League playing midweek matches and you've got a gigantic game coming up this weekend as Inter have against Juventus. I think you have to be kind of planning out two matches at once, and I think it was important for Inzaghi to probably tactically save certain bodies because. Jerry, I think the chances that we see Alexis subbed on against Juventus are 0.0. Like, I don't think there's any chance whatsoever that Alexis is going to see any playing time against Juve. So you figured, let's use him today and save Correa for the weekend against Juve. Now, we could certainly have a bigger conversation about Correa, who's outside of his sensational debut, hasn't been particularly good or consistent for Inter. He's already had a couple of knocks and a couple of injuries, which is something that shouldn't be too surprising. I know Jerry warned me about that when he came over. So that's certainly a conversation to be had. But what did you think, Dave, about the Correa not getting on today?
Like you said, today I don't have any issue with him not coming on. It's not like at any point of the game we're watching the game and we felt like it called for Correa or whatnot. We were handling things as we needed to. And Sanchez, I believe, as opposed to what you said, I think that he came in, he looked lively. He made a couple of those passes to Dumfries that Dumfries failed to control. And I think that he showed some signs to Inzaghi. Maybe he can see some minutes. But further on Correa, I think that not only has he been dealing with fitness issues, he was injured while he was with Argentina. He missed the game, muscle fatigue or whatnot. He only played like 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes against Lazio as well. So I think it's a mixture of that. And finally, you're at Inter now. You know, like if you're not performing, you just don't deserve to play. You know, you have to earn your minutes. Sanchez is in top form based on his 3 games in the international break with Chile. His last match, he had 2 assists or whatnot. So I guess I would hope that Inzaghi is telling them, hey, listen, man, you're not performing. You're costing us this amount of money that Jerry is always bragging about it on Twitter. I'm sure Inzaghi told him that. I'm sure Inzaghi told him that. Inzaghi told him, hey, you can't have Jerry Mancini making us look silly on Twitter. You got to do something. If you don't do that, you can't play. You know. So.
How funny would that be if Simone is like he's got his phone out? He's like, look at this guy. Look at it. He's always clowning us. Look at this guy.
We gotta make up for that Mariki loss, man. $20 million. Rocky's gonna freaking kill me when he hears that. But freaking,
oh man,
I didn't give up on Marici personally, but when you're spending $20 million, I think that Inter might be in the same boat as Lazio with like these big money signings where they're just like not panning out. I fucking hate this crap. Lazio should beat Milan, not Inter. Smith.
100%.
Here's the difference. We played Milan third week, okay? We played 2 scrubs, Empoli and Spezia. We overperformed.
Yeah, you guys look great the first 2 games.
We overperformed. I even thought that we were amazing.
Yeah.
We go off. I think that had we never went into the actual international break, that game may have looked a little bit different for Lazio with the momentum shifting and everything. Sometimes when you have the momentum and you go into the break, it kind of hurts you, right? And maybe that happened with Inter against Lazio, where the break kind of cooled them down. They go in, and Lazio for this time it benefited them because Immobile had 2 weeks to recover. If Immobile doesn't play Saturday, that game they lose 100%. I don't give a crap what anybody says. You can put Savage on the field. You could put Alberto on the field. You could put anybody. They're not the same team. But against Milan, like they had their team. They didn't have injuries. We were still adapting to Sarri in the third week. We were still understanding how to play under him. 8 games is much different compared to 3 games. And that's 8 games in the season. You're not including the extra 2 games you played in Europa League. That helps. That's 10 games in total. We didn't play any Europa League games yet prior to the Milan match. Like, there's a lot that has happened in the last 4 weeks where players have adjusted. Like, Toman Basic has now looked really comfortable under Sarri. Like, he started in place of Luis Alberto. When was the last time you heard Lazio was going to bench Luis Alberto versus Inter in the last 5 seasons, unless he was injured. Okay.
Yeah, it would have sounded ridiculous. To say that. Yeah,
it's crazy where we are now, and it makes me sick because we are in this position where we do have depth because of a vendetta that Claudio Lotito has with Simone Inzaghi. I hate it so much, and I do believe with Big E that we should have beaten Milan, not Inter, compared to the strength of the clubs. I think that Inter is a much stronger team compared to Milan. But in fairness, we can say that, but Milan is structured under Pioli. They have been playing for almost 2 seasons, so there's an identity there. The players know what is expected. Under Simone Inzaghi, it's the same like Sarri, where everyone thought that, it's a 3-5-2, everything's landy-dandy. But he still has to understand the type of players he has, how they were going to fit into his kind of style of how he plays 3-5-2 and how he integrates them. I think the biggest issue with Inter is the back end. And I don't know what it is. I don't have no idea what it is because I was talking to Nima. He thinks that at Lazio, we had a structure, but we didn't have the players. I, to a degree, do not agree with that because I've never seen a structure with Lazio in the back end. I think that the thing was that we had good wing backs. We had Lazzari and Marusic who can support the center backs. I think that that's an issue with the Inter wingbacks. Maybe is that see Inter's wingbacks still haven't convinced me. I think that the wingbacks are struggling to defend in the back, and it's causing problems for the center backs, spreading them out and creating space. I could be wrong, but
Here's here's my take, and I'm stealing this, and forgive me if I can't remember who I'm stealing this from. I think it's a fella that I'm in a group chat with, an intergroup chat, who said this, and I thought that this point made a lot of sense. I don't think, I'm sure the personnel has something to do with it, because obviously Denzel Dumfries is still getting himself adapted, as is DiMarco. We've seen some good and some not as good from him, and Perisic, he's put in some good performances. He's still not really a wingback in my mind. So I think there is something to be said about the personnel. But I think the bigger thing is, and obviously, like you said, Jerry, Conte and Inzaghi are not the same. Even if they do run the same formation, the system is different. But with a couple of pieces of personnel for Inter last season under Conte, you think about having people like Hakimi and Lukaku, what they were able to do on the break, and what Lukaku was able to do with his hold up, and both of them very fast, Hakimi blazing fast. So the way that this changed the defensive structure for Inter was they could play when they were off the ball. They could play extremely compact, right? And then they had the speed and the power with Lukaku and Hakimi to break violently, to go from the defensive phase into the attacking phase seamlessly. So they could be compact, and then they could break out of that extremely quickly. But when you don't have those players anymore, because I think this is one of those things where people maybe don't realize how big of a loss Lukaku is, because Edin Dzeko can clearly score goals, right? But with Lukaku, it was more about that. It was so much about his hold-up play as well, and also his speed and his explosiveness. And Dzeko, at 35 years old, just doesn't have all of that speed and explosiveness anymore. So with having people like Lukaku, who was basically always on the pitch for Inter, and Hakimi, who was on the pitch most of the time last year, they were able to play so compact in the defensive phase, and it was so hard to score against them, and it didn't sacrifice their attacking, because when they got the ball on the break, they were off to the freaking races. So I think the problem here is balance. Like, it's not so much like, you still have the same back three that you had last season that was the best defense in Serie A. And, maybe the wing back personnel does, and obviously in the case of Hakimi, it makes a difference. But the biggest difference was you were able to play so compact in defense last year. And this year, if you were to do that, you wouldn't be able to score any goals, because you wouldn't be able to break out the same way. So whoever it was who said that, I apologize for plagiarism, but it made so much sense.
I think Skriniar, who was it? Skriniar came out and said that today or yesterday in an interview. That was yesterday before the match, actually. He said that Inzaghi said it himself, that that's how his teams are. They concede a lot, and they are stretched. And he did say that they're still working on the defense or whatnot. But just to piggyback on your point, Alex, that's exactly it. The fact that you have Lukaku, who could turn on the dime and start a counterattack on his own, it gives you the luxury of starting your defensive black very low. You just pretty much sit damn near into your own box and just dare teams to break you down. And most times they cannot. But when you replace Lukaku and Hakimi with Dzeko and Darmian, who started most of the matches so far, so Darmian is still a starter so far. You lose that ability, and for that reason, I guess that's why we've been playing the high line. Right now, this team resembles more the first month of Inter last year under Conte, when we were a mess. That's exactly what the team looks like. Every time the opponent can get over the initial press, we look stressed. We look stretched in the back. It's like 3-on-3. You see Skriniar scrambling for his life and stuff like that, and you think it's going to be a catastrophe. I don't know how to fix it, to be honest, because when you have Dzeko and Darmian, you have to at least have a higher starting point.
Yeah.
Because even if you win the ball back there with the low block, Dzeko he doesn't have the pace to make it up there to be a threat, or Darmian or whatnot. I guess Dumfries, now that we're seeing that he's being more integrated, maybe he could be that guy. Although he is a least quality version of Hakimi, but we saw some attributes today that are very helpful, like that pass that Dzeko gave him, that you saw that he made that big run from the back, just like Hakimi. I guess his control failed him, and he couldn't even get a shot off. But we're seeing some things that are encouraging. If we want to be positive, I'll say.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you your take on Dumfries so far because, like, to me, I'm still he's still an incomplete. I'm giving him more time. I see people trying to write him off already, like, oh, this guy sucks. He's not it. He can't play in Serie A. And the problem that I have with that is, and I'm not saying I'm convinced. Now, I did love him, and I'm glad Inter signed him. I was really championing for this player to come. So maybe I'm a little bit biased in his favor, but at the same time. And Jerry, you remember this as well as I do, and Dave does. First half of the season last year, there were plenty of games when Hakimi really struggled, right? I mean, by the second half of the season, the guy was in incredible form. But first half of the year had some really bad gaffes defensively, had problems in control in the final third, where sometimes he would just make the wrong decision, pass when he should shoot, vice versa. So it's not as if Hakimi was, man of the match like 38 times last year. He had some struggles first half of the season as well. So for that reason, I'm going to be patient with Dumfries.
So
and I like real quick, Jerry. I like to listen to what the manager is saying, because Inzaghi said it himself. He said Dumfries is actually ahead of schedule as opposed to what they're expected when they purchased him. He has to adjust to the language, a new city and everything, a new system. Because he played 3 at the back in the Euros with Netherlands, but PSV plays the back 4. Now in the national team, they play a back 4 as well. So he's only playing the back 3 here. So he's still in school more or less, and you could see it. You could see the quality there, but he just has to work at it and stop thinking as much and react. He will get to that point at some point, and I'm very encouraged. I'll say let's just be calm, give him some time.
So I'm not sure if you guys follow ADP, Ad Pal. He's an Inter fan.
I probably do then.
And
I probably do as well.
He's from Winnipeg, and he messaged me on the side today because I did a Spaces, and I kind of was criticizing Dumfries how he wasn't having a great game in the first half. I personally didn't think he was that good in the first half. He looked slow, missed times passes. There's just a lot of things that I felt that he needs to improve on. But like you guys said, it needs time, and he gave me some points because I don't follow Inter like you guys. Actually, I can't say that because I watch more games because of fucking Alex.
You probably watch more games than I do these days. Like the last couple games, I wasn't even able to watch them live like I did. I finally watched the Lazio game last night. So I think Jerry watches more Inter than I do these days.
So he wrote, "Give Dumfries time to acclimate. He doesn't know the language and relies on De Vrij for everything to understand what Inzaghi wants. Inter fans can be brutal. They look at him as being shit for 2 heavy touches in the first half. Hakimi took half a season to excel in Italy.
Yep.
Dumfries is no Hakimi, but after Hakimi, he is better than whatever else we've had on the right since Maicon left, and he'll continue to improve." And then I said, "Good points," and he's like, "Of course they're good points because they're my points."
Well, I mean, they're great points actually. So
and he got into advanced positions. Well, he said he'll be fine with more time.
Yes.
So, hey man.
Well, on the stat sheet today, he has an assist on the stat sheet, so it's not a bad day at the office. And also, you could see the impact he's had on keeping Sheriff's defense honest, because every time he does make that run, he takes a couple players with him, and it does have that impact, as opposed to if we had Darmian, that nobody's really scared that he's going to beat you in the foot race. So give him some time, man. Give him some time. I think he's going to come good.
So I want to get into a discussion on a couple of the hot button topics coming out of the Lazio Inter game. And let me preface something I'm about to say. I'm not complaining about the outcome. Lazio scored 3 goals. So even if one of those goals hadn't counted or whatever, then, Lazio still deserved to win the match. And I thought Inter lost their heads and lost their cool way too much after the controversy. So I'm not complaining about the outcome. Like, I'm not going to be that guy that, it could have been a different game, this and that. But I have an interesting perspective on the whole hot button thing with Felipe Anderson and DiMarco being down. It was weird because like I mentioned, I couldn't watch the match live. I was on a trip with my family, and I was trying to be a good husband and dad and not watch it. But I did see for like the next, 24 hours, just the shitstorm of Serie A Twitter, right, on both sides of it, right? The people thought, oh, why is Inter whining so much? The Inter fans who were like, oh, this is bullshit. How can you talk about us this way? So I didn't really know what to expect when I finally watched the match and I watched that sequence last night. It was really interesting because some of like the anti-Inter banter, I heard things like, well, hold on. If DiMarco was so hurt when he was down on the turf, how come Lautaro didn't play it out? Like, that's horseshit right there. Because when I watched it last night, I'm like, really? So DiMarco takes the knock as he's passing the ball to Lautaro, who had his back turned to DiMarco. So there's no chance Lautaro could have even seen DiMarco go down. And then he takes the shot like 3 seconds later. So it's not like he had time. Oh, he's hurt. I better play. So that whole thing is bullshit. And then, as everyone saw when they looked at the slow-mo replays, there were multiple Lazio players, telling what's the name of your bald keeper? Reina to play it out. And then, they advanced it. And then Felipe Anderson like dribbles past the corpse of Federico DiMarco laying out to build up for that goal. So, listen, I thought it was shitty sportsmanship. Now, I do acknowledge, Jerry, to be fair, if the shoe had been on the other foot, I probably would have said, hey, listen, it's a good goal. It happens. So I'm trying to be as impartial as possible, even though I'm an Interista. And again, I'm not arguing with the outcome of the match or anything like that. Inter probably deserved to lose that game. So I'm not arguing with the outcome, but I did think that sequence was bullshit, not to play it out and to approach it the way that they did. Because it's not like Lautaro had time to think and play it out. And if anything, you're playing advantage at that point from a foul that may have been committed. So, man, I thought it was ugly. At the same time, Inter shouldn't have lost their cool and basically started a brawl the way that they did. So it's not the kind of thing you ever want to see. But I just thought that in that, and I kind of wondered what was the game a couple of years ago in England. I know Aston Villa was involved in it, where you had a goal scored in a similar circumstance, and then they let the other team tie it. Like, I thought maybe something. Handanovic even brought that up to Sarri after that.
Yeah, with Leeds, I think.
Even told Lazio to play it out before they scored that goal. So I just thought that was ugly, man. And you can call me biased all you want to, because I am an Interista. I admit that, but that whole sequence rubbed me the wrong way. And there's no way Lautaro could have even known that DiMarco was down and played it out. So I thought, honestly, that was real shit sportsmanship.
There's a great tweet that a Lazio account followed. He followed me today, and I looked at his timeline, and he wrote a tweet: fair play, sport tifitas, and sportsmanship. And they're pictures of Inter. And I have to hear Inter fans say that Lazio has no sportsmanship. Fair play is when Lautaro Martinez is grabbing the leg of Toloi. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
I'll send you that. This is where I laugh when people call other teams. Lazio, I believe 2018, when D'Ambrosio freaking kicks Thomas Trococcia in the back of the head, and he's going for the ball.
I remember that like it was yesterday. There was nothing wrong with that. I remember that.
Yeah, like
yeah, that was in that famous game to decide the Champions League spot last match day. Like that was a good goal. Like that, there was nothing there.
No, man. And then the best one is this one, when Vidal is down on the floor versus Lazio last year, and he looks up with one eye, and he's fine, and he's looking at Immobile.
Did Immobile slap him or not? Like, I don't understand. Like,
bro, the fact that he's on the regardless, it's the same. Where's the sportsmanship there? The guy's on the floor, and you're saying that he's there, and you see him going like this. If you're doubting,
Immobile hit him in the face, and that's on camera, Jerry. You could go back and see it again. Like,
yeah, it was clear.
Whether he was dead or not, how much it hurt or not, that's debatable. We can have that debate, but
he sold, of course.
So what's your guy doing hitting him in the face? What's the sportsmanship in that?
Listen, I see this, and I don't understand this. So he says you aren't biased, you are wrong and emotional. I saw most Interisti agreeing that Lazio did nothing wrong. But here's the thing: like, how can you argue if they did nothing wrong? Why were there no less than 3 Lazio players signaling play it out? Why was Sarri signaling to play it out? So if you did nothing wrong, then how come there were at least 4 people on that pitch or on that touchline telling you to play it out? So if you did nothing wrong, why was anybody saying, "Oh, play it out, please"?
Hey, at the end of the day,
I mean, at the end of the day, you know what? Like we said, Lazio got their 3 points. You know, I like for us to handle our business on the pitch. You know, we did not. They got the 3 points. That's undisputable. But what's also undisputable was that it was Bush League. All right, just take it as it is. It was Bush League. Take your 3 points. And I mean, Jerry, you were not on the pitch. You did not personally do it. We don't have anything personal against you.
Oh, nothing at all.
No, I don't care. At the end of the day,
like it's Bush League. We can't dress it as anything else. Because at the end of the day, DiMarco is passing the ball and he takes the knock. It's not like he was running and caught one of those fake cramps that those players get to buy time. He was hit by your player. You know what I mean? He made contact with you. He was body checked by your player. So that's one thing.
I leave him on the floor.
Let me finish the point and I'll let you finish, right? Lautaro doesn't see it. He dribbles and he takes the shot on the other end, which Reina easily parries. Mm-hmm. Now, what does Reina do as his players are telling him to put it out? He runs to the other side where DiMarco is clearly on the floor and there's a clear gap there. He throws it to Anderson, who dribbles. He probably hops over DiMarco's dead body on the floor.
Yep.
Like, what? That's the guy that would have been marking you. Like, come on, bro. Like, you're a professional. Take the goal. Fine. I'll take it. I'll take it. Like, our guys lost their head. They should have came back better. We're champions. We should have showed better mentality. Cool. But Bush League. Let's keep it at that.
But here's the thing. Right after everything, he gets up like nothing happened to him first. And let's think about the first half when, what was his name? Darmian was down and we threw the ball out and he was complaining that he was hurt. It gets right after we throw the ball out, he gets right back up like nothing ever happened.
That happens.
You're bringing up
other
plays.
That
has nothing to do with that.
No, but hold on. But the problem is when you see that shit happen, you don't take players serious, and I get
pretty much this was Lazio deciding that they're going to solve the issue of players faking injuries in football once and for all. That's what this was. No, it wasn't. It was Bush League. You guys took an opportunity to win a game that you guys probably had no business winning. And
you won
I wouldn't even go that far because
opportunistic is part of the game as well. So that's fine. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, and David brings up, he says, I can't speak for them, so I can only say what I saw. Inter played on. You would celebrate it. But that argument doesn't apply. They played on for the next 3 seconds, and that's advantage, right? Like so you play on for the next 3 seconds, and DiMarco being down had nothing to do with the shot that Lautaro
and that's something
took.
that happens in every football match. You see the play on rule. It happens every match. Like, I don't understand guys that are even bringing that up. Come on, man.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and just
you're on the opposite end. I'm telling you right now, if that was Inter, they do the same thing. I don't give a fuck when anybody says.
No.
Bullshit, man.
No.
Bullshit. I hate when people say we don't do that. You're in the team. You're in that position. This is one of the reasons
I love my team. No.
No way, man.
No. Historically, we're too classy to do that. Mm-mm.
Well, and I just want to make sure, because I know David Lonhole, we love you, David. I think he tuned in a little bit late. He might have missed the first part of my point when I brought up this discussion. Hold on, I wanted to. I don't know if I brought up the message I want to, but anyway, I just want to clarify. Like, I'm not arguing the outcome of the match. Like,
neither am I.
And I know you're not either. And I wanted to clarify. Like, I'm not saying, well, hey, listen, if that goal hadn't counted, I'll have to look back and maybe he's right. I'll have to look back and take a look at that if they did that with Verona. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm arguing the 3 points lost or that we didn't deserve to lose, because at the end of the day, we gave up a third goal after that. We lost our heads after that play. So even if that goal hadn't counted, maybe we would have still lost the match. So I'm not disputing that. I just thought that sequence was Bush League. And you know what? If he's right that Inter did that, I'm not a fan of that either. I don't want to see that happen in the game.
Yep, 100%.
I you know what? I don't play on the pitch, man. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, I get what you guys are saying, but I agree that it's not right. But at the same time, I get to a certain degree that there are players who try to buy a foul and they're not really hurt and they're trying to buy
Well,
inside
let me
to a
interrupt you
certain
there.
degree.
I mean, first of all, that wasn't buying a foul because that was a foul. That's why the advantage
Yeah.
would play. That was a foul. That wasn't buying a foul. You know, so
Why
again,
didn't his players?
I need to crack open a beer
at
if I'm
the
going to
same
continue
his
this
players see
discussion.
him down on the floor. Why don't they tell him to throw the ball out?
what?
If their own players see him down, why don't they tell him to kick it out?
And the 3 seconds
Lautaro,
that
dude, it happened
he
over
takes
3
two
seconds.
dribbles and shoots the ball.
Yeah, you have to go back. And this is one of the things that drove me crazy because, like I said, I watched the match 2 days later, and so I had already heard all the complaining before I even knew what people were talking about, and I kept seeing people say, "Hey, well, why didn't Lautaro play it out, bro?" It was a bang bang play. DiMarco gets smashed as he's passing it to Lautaro, who had his back turned the other way, takes a shot, like Dave said, 2 dribbles later. He did not have time for the realization or for anyone to communicate to him, oh, our guy is down, you better kick it out. Like it's just that argument is just null and void in this conversation.
I had a lot of Inter fans say that they did the right thing. They proceeded right, and
because we have a stupid fan base. Like anybody who says that is brain dead. Like
I've actually had
really
a few
dumb.
Inter fans that reached out and said that it was the right call, man.
Well, the fact that you guys are saying that Sarri told him to put it out, that right there, I never even knew. Like, because Sarri to me,
he said it after the game. He said it after the game. He told him to put it out.
Well, that wraps it up for me. I don't have to argue with anybody else. Then your manager
Lord Figo, the legend, he's on Jerry's side. He says, "Jerry, congratulations. Inter fans, stop bitching. Lazio was the better team on the day." And Figo, I'm not arguing that.
It's quite possible.
Yeah, I'm just talking.
I think Dumfries is lucky he didn't get a red card. I honestly think that Dumfries is so lucky he didn't get a suspension for what he did.
So as is Milinkovic-Savic, because Milinkovic had him around the neck and on the floor. Mm-hmm. Come on, bro, be impartial. Come on.
But if he does, hold on,
nobody got sent out.
I get that.
A lot of people are on call.
If he doesn't do that, right, where would Anderson be right now? That guy would be in a freaking hospital. I tell you right now, he would have been dead, man. I'm telling you, man.
Why? Dumfries was just pointing at him like he
probably deserves to be in the hospital after that bullshit.
Well, what did Anderson?
And you could see he knew what he was doing. He was acting with Lautaro like, "What did I do? What did I do?" Lautaro was telling him like, "Yo, that's why you ain't shit." You know what I mean? But it's all good.
Oh, I think that Savage saved the life, man. At the end of the day, Savage, maybe he did deserve a red. I don't know, man. But at the end of the day, like he saved the life, because if he doesn't pull him back, I honestly think that Dumfries lost his cool. He lost his cool.
Oh, he did.
He lost his
cool. I agree with
Dave,
that.
At the end of the day, he was going to throw that arm.
Yeah.
And had he thrown that arm, he was a dead man, because he wasn't protecting himself, Anderson. He wasn't protecting himself. He was just basically saying.
I've seen this video a million times. It doesn't look like there was ever an intention to throw a hand. I saw he grabbed him by the chest and he pointed at DiMarco on the floor. There was never, and then by then, Savage had him by the neck. You know, I mean, there are different narratives going on, but the video is there for everybody to see.
No, me for one, I think that Dumfries was going to do something to him, and the way Inter lost their cool, someone was going to do something stupid.
Yeah, and I didn't like it. Like you have to, because and you're right, because at that point, it's clear losing your temper is not going to help the situation, right? Yeah. Like, you know, losing your cool, it's not like the referee's going to say, you know what, because you're so angry, I'm going to disallow the goal. Like it accomplishes nothing. You focus, you keep playing. They deserve to take the L after that. Totally.
Absolutely. After that, the game was over after that, because we lost it mentally. Even when we had the ball, you saw there was no direction. Like, I'm like, okay, those guys aren't going to create any chances to at least equalize, because you could tell they were still upset about the whole situation. But I think what it is like those guys, why they lost their head, is like there's like a unwritten rule of, it's like a fraternity of football players. You know, like you know what to do. And that's what those guys were upset about. But then again, like I don't want to keep going on. We've all watched football for a significant amount of time, so we do know this.
It's gonna be brutal when it comes to January. There's gonna be a lot of booing towards Anderson.
Like, and I think there's going to be. I think this is the type of game where, and obviously we don't know yet which Italian referee is going to officiate it, but he's going to have the yellow cards ready. I think because he's going to want to give out like a lot of cautions early in the match just to try and set the tone. Right? You don't want to let a whole lot go in that game.
It's gonna get brutal that game. Someone's gonna swing on it. You know why it's funny, and I don't know who tweeted it out to me and Alex, but there's no rivalry really between the fans. There's like a good relationship, but there is a rivalry on the field now. Like we can see it now. We saw it last year at the Stadio Olimpico with Vidal and the whole thing that happened. We're seeing it now with Felipe Anderson and the whole play that happened. There's I don't know how bad it was at the San Siro last year. I don't know if there was any bad blood. I don't
remember anything in that.
But there's been some incidents like 2018 when we lost in the last game of the season. There was a lot of controversy in that game. They're on the pitch. There is bad blood. I think that it's starting to get to the point there is starting to become a rivalry between the two sides. But it's funny off the pitch that the fans are very united, and we've seen like with the Curva Nord and how they unite together. I don't think there was any bad blood between the fans at the game either after everything that happened. So it's just a very weird situation because normally this kind of stuff would happen between Juve and Inter, Roma, Lazio, where it would get heated, right? And you would see these kind of things, but I'll answer this guy's question right here. Dave, let me get that shirt.
No way.
I'll answer this guy's question. Felipe got a 1-game suspension. You know what? I thought it was a little bit harsh, but
it was dumb though.
It was a dumb thing to do. I think that I asked a few people. Most people said it was a harsh call. Should have been yellow card at most. But at the same time, in the moment of how everything is going on, like, what do you expect, right? You had lost a game, especially the way you lost, and he's going to react like that. I just don't like the response he gave on Twitter or on Instagram, Correa. He really didn't apologize to his best friend of how he reacted in a way like, oh, I didn't mean to, like, or just to show some respect to his own friend, not to the team. I don't give a fuck about me.
Yeah.
Just if he's your best friend, right? And you're like just acknowledging that it was just a mistake or whatever, and like you're kind of brushing it off, but you're saying that it's your fault. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't hate Correa because he never did anything wrong with Lazio. He was an inconsistent player. That's what he was. Mm-hmm. But he did things to help the team. So I don't hate him. He wanted to leave. I respect that. I'd rather have a guy who's honest and just says he wants to go. He wants to try something new. That's his decision. That's his
and you want players on your team who want to be there. Right?
But acknowledge that you kind of in the same way, kind of not overreacted, but like just applaud or just be more man about it. Don't just brush it off and be like, oh, was it my fault?
I think he just said we're moving on. Let's move on or something like that. That's what he said. But he should have said that because I think that had the referee known the context, he probably would have given him a yellow. Because me, when I first saw it, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing, jumping on Correa? And then you saw Skriniar was ready to go get him and everything. Like, a lot of people didn't know that those guys were buddies. They go on vacation together and all that.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Correa should have
don't cry either, man.
The situation.
But don't cry either. Felipe is such an emotional player, man.
Yeah, what was that, dude?
I don't know what that was, bro. His eyes all red.
This guy has cried during games, man. Like, it's
really
bad. Yeah,
it's not the first time.
No, it's not the first time. It's so so not stable emotionally. It's so bad.
Wow.
But yeah, it's
I guess that's why he doesn't know when it's okay to go jump on somebody or when it's not.
So I was listening to the Lazio Lounge podcast, and what's his name was at the game on Saturday, Vittorio, and he said a good point. The Lazio fans actually booed Correa.
I noticed that.
I didn't notice this until he said it, because I phase out the crowd. I don't give a shit about the crowd. When I'm watching the game, I'm watching the game. I don't give a crap what you guys say. They booed Morici, which is just sad disgrace, because the guy's never got a fair chance. Let's be honest. As bad as we want to say he is, the guy hasn't played 9 games in a row to be criticized fairly. You know what I mean? He's never been playing consistently in big situations to see what you can do. So that's a whole different topic, but booing your own player is one thing I don't agree with. He's still part of your team. It's like shitting in your own house, man. You don't respect what you have, even if you don't like it. Like, it's your house. You do what you gotta do. But Correa being booed is wrong. It's all wrong for me. Lazio fans should not boo this guy. He wants to go. He wants to go. He wants to play for Inter. That's fine. No issues. How do you cheer for Inzaghi, but you don't cheer for Correa? I don't get that.
Yeah,
you had one, because Vittorio said a good point on his pod. One guy both wanted to leave. It wasn't like one wanted to leave when the other didn't.
Right.
Inzaghi wanted to leave. Okay, let's be realistic here, guys. As much as we think that he was going to stay, he had a year to stay. Lotito screwed it up. As it progressed, things became more serious with Inter. They jumped on. He was a free agent. That's it. He wanted to leave after. The opportunity is there. He's going to a club who's more ambitious. It's realistic. At the moment, they're not, because of their situation financially.
Got to get that goddamn oil money, please.
But that's not an Inter who don't want to be ambitious. Pepe Marotta would love to go buy a whole new team right now, but he can't, because for reasons we don't have to talk about it, because we talk about it every week. But the point is that you don't boo a guy who helped you win a Coppa Italia, who helped you in the Champions League last year against Club Brugge when you had 11 guys out, and scored a key goal to help you earn a 1-1 draw. Like, you don't forget the players who helped you. Now, you boo a player like that, he doesn't. The next time he ever scores on Lazio, he's gonna celebrate so good. It's not even gonna be funny, man. If he were to score in January, I guarantee you my life
he's gonna do a lap around the entire field.
And lastly, I think he wanted to leave also for reasons. I think that there are a lot of players weren't happy with his reaction and how he kind of responded after with Felipe and just everything in general during the game. There are some players who are kind of like not happy with him. I personally think he grew off a few players, some players that he just doesn't get along with anymore. That's not fact. I don't have source about that. That's just my assumption, my feeling, that I just think that there are certain players he didn't want to be around anymore in this team. I get that hunch, but
I want to look ahead. To upcoming matches. Jerry, Dave and I, we've already seen Inter play their midweek match. Got a victory today against Sheriff. You have Marseille Thursday, correct, in Europa League?
Yeah, the fans are banned, Dave.
Really?
They're not allowed to.
I didn't know that.
So the fans are not allowed to be at the Stadio Olimpico.
Well, what the hell did they do?
I was asking Joe in our group, and he thinks that it's because of COVID. They're not allowing them to travel back and forth. I think it's more for racism, personally, because there's a lot of history between Marseille, Lazio, Galatasaray, and Lokomotiv is not, as far as I know, isn't bad. And I think the Lokomotiv fans were not actually at the Lazio game as well, personally, as far as I know.
I think somebody was saying this group has all the worst fans.
Yeah, terrible.
Because Marseille fans, they get down.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The other day.
Yes.
And Lazio, we all know.
Lazio versus Marseille fans, it's bad.
Galatasaray, so it could be a disaster. So maybe it's for the better.
It's a good point.
So there are no fans on Thursday there, so that is an advantage for Lazio this game. But vice versa, will be in the same situation like they were against Galatasaray. No fans. So, I think Lokomotiv had fans at the Lazio game. I'm 100% sure they did. It's the other two teams that don't have fans. But as far as I know, I think that Lazio can take this game, personally.
I think so too.
I haven't watched enough Marseille. They had a good weekend. They won 4-1. They do have a lot of good players. I think Guendouzi is the one guy who really scares me in that midfield. Really, he's been looking really good. I saw their game against Lokomotiv, and he looked really good in that match. And I not sure if I saw their no, I didn't see the last game, but yeah, you know what? I'm curious to see who he starts. We do have a Cherby and Felipe for this game.
Yeah.
So that's a definite. They're back together. So that's a boost. I'd like to see Marici start on Thursday because we got 6 games in 20 days, and we can't be playing Immobile every freaking game. Like it's absurd.
And he's coming off a knock too. I mean, recently.
Yeah, I would be shocked if we didn't start Imarici at number 9. Like, it'd be dumb. Like, seriously dumb. Like, we've only lost once to Marseille in 6 meetings. The last 2 times we played them was back in 2018-19 season. We won 3-1 in the first leg at Marseille and 2-1 at the Stadio Olimpico. So, history's on our side. But the thing is, a lot of those guys who did score are not in the lineup anymore. Caicedo, Correa, Wallace. Wallace scored a goal. Oh my God, man. You guys remember Wallace?
What I do, yeah. Defender, right?
Wallace, man. I still remember the game when he played against Atalanta, and all 3 goals conceded was because of him. And the whole crowd just booed him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God. I was like, that was the last game.
The end of his Lazio career, yeah.
That was the end of his, yeah. I would love to watch that game again because every goal got worse and worse and worse. God. It just was, we started off 1-0. Marco Parolo scored in the first 10 minutes. And then as soon as you know it, it was one bad play after another in the second half. Just meltdown. And it was like, oh God, and that was the end of our season. We lost any hope of getting Champions League, but like, oh man, that guy there. But Parolo, he scored a beauty in the first leg. I was watching the highlights today, but yeah, well, it's gonna be interesting because then you got Hellas Verona on Sunday.
Yep.
So at 9:00. So it's I can't really speak much about Marseille. I don't really know how. I think they were winless in their prior 6 games or 5 games prior to winning on Sunday. So. I just think that at the Stadio Olimpico, no fans for them. This is a big must win for Lazio. They can't tie. They have to take the full 3 points and walk away with it. Especially that the group is so tight and very close. And I hope they take it serious and they don't tank it. As much as I want them to do well in the Serie A, I think that Europa League is a very wide open for them, and they can. As the season progresses, I think that they can go far in Europa League, and I'm hoping that no Italian team gets dropped into the Europa League. Personally, I don't want to see Inter, Juventus, Milan. Forget it. They're big. They're
toast. Yeah, they're toast.
They need
the Champions League DNA.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna crap on them because I've never seen a team who has so many injuries like they do.
Oh, I know. For sure.
We can I won't banter Milan because
it's just banter at the end of the day.
No. I just can't do it because of what the situation they're in. It's just so bad. But like, I saw a tweet by Bonetti that the best thing is for them is to tank it so they can finish and win the Scudetto.
He's right.
Like Inter.
100% right.
I do, but I also don't agree because this team is just cursed. Yeah, they did the same thing last year. Basically, they lost in the round of 32 in the Europa League. And what did they do after that? Though they didn't do anything.
Yeah, they had a poor second half of the season.
Yeah, man. Like that doesn't evidently mean it worked out for Lazio because the momentum was there.
I mean, it worked out for Inter last year. Now they didn't tank, like they didn't drop out on purpose. Like they didn't tank it, but it ended up working out in their favor because then they didn't have European football in the second half of the season.
Here's a question to you guys: how many injuries did Inter have last year? Realistically,
not many.
There you go.
Sensi every 3 days.
Yeah. Okay,
well, they early on they did actually.
Right?
They did because
Yeah.
early in the season, like everybody had COVID, like and like people forget that. And I'm not saying it to make excuses because a lot of teams had to deal with COVID, Lazio included when they weren't faking positive or negative tests, they had to deal with it.
That's
But like
Latito.
the first 4 or 5 games of the year, they kept having to start freaking Kolarov at center back, who was just shipping goals left and right because all their defenders had COVID.
No, but I ask you guys not prior to being out of the Champions League, but after the Champions League. That's
Yeah, not many.
There you go. That's the argument is that can Milan do the same like Inter did,
True,
and
true.
Lazio as well, to a certain degree. Can they replicate what they did? Because they did on a consistent basis, Inter, where they were beating teams who also had a lot of rest and had their players in the lineup and didn't have to like play Champions League either, right? So
True, yeah.
Like, I think that Milan is a very good team. I'm just curious to see if they can stay healthy because even prior to like the Champions League, they were already picking up injuries. This team can't stay healthy for some reason.
No.
I don't know what it is, man. I
give them credit though because they still find a way to get results. Now maybe if they still have injury troubles second half of the season, it might get harder because then people are tired and injured. But as far as the first half of the season goes, and they had similar situations last year in the first half of the year, like even when they have injuries, they still find a way to get results. I give them credit for that. Before we get out of here, I want to get Dave's take, kind of a look ahead to Juventus this weekend because that's gigantic. I mean, it's huge for both teams. Juve actually find themselves just 3 points now behind Inter in the standings.
We're home. It's going to be at the Meazza. I mean, Juve are coming in hot, man. They've won 4 in a row, and I believe 6 if you count the Champions League, if I'm not mistaken. I may be mistaken, but at least 5 in a row if you count the Champions League because they also beat Chelsea. And we're struggling for form, and we're all over the place. I feel like the win today is a beautiful boost. And when we saw guys like Vidal play such a great role, Sanchez came in, looked lively. Even Sensi, knock on wood, he came in and played a role. So that means we're having a weapons ready at the right time. We just had a match at home, and we're about to rest. And the match against Juve is what, on Sunday or Saturday?
That's a good question.
Sunday. Let me look.
I think I think it's Sunday, but I want to.
Okay, on Sunday.
Okay.
I'm finding it right now. Okay, yes, it's on Sunday. So we got the match on Sunday. So I guess that's enough time for us to get a full week's of rest, as opposed to Juve, who are traveling to Russia tomorrow, and they're coming back, and then they have to train a couple of days, and then they have to travel to Milano and stuff like that. So these are a couple little advantages that we have. So we should be the fresher side, and we should be the hungrier side, especially after what happened with Lazio. We can't afford to drop 2 matches in a row, especially in the form that Napoli and Milan are in. So based on all these things and the fact that Inzaghi, he seems to find Juve's number every year. So that's something that Jerry could attest to. It seems like Inzaghi beats Juve at least once a year. So I hope this is the time that he does it for us and that he sets up the team and make sure we get that win.
I could see Vidal having a big game. I mean, think about how good he was. That was like the only good game he played all year last year was that first matchup.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jerry?
Well, he got them ready. You know what? At the Stadio Olimpico, we tied 1-1, and that was when Correa actually did that nice dribble and got Caicedo into that position. We played really well that game. It was really balanced. I thought that Juve played well as well, and they had a few other chances. But in the second leg, we started off really well. That was the game where Correa scored that off that turnover. He intercepted the pass. And the first 30 minutes was all Lazio. But as soon as we
came back, right?
Yeah, Rabiot scored that goal. He should never score from that angle on Pep Arena. But and it just opened up the floodgates, and we lost 3-1.
I remember, yeah.
But like our back end just like it's always mistakes when we lose to like big teams under Simone Inzaghi. I don't know if anybody has ever noticed that. Like we lost to Inter last year 3-1 because of a mistake. We brought in Parolo. Why would you bring in a midfielder, a center back against a team like Inter? Yeah. Like you got defenders on the bench. If you don't like them, don't sign them. Like it's that simple. Like that goes between the sporting director and the coach. It's not one or the other. Like you got players at your disposal and you're playing players at a position. Your job is to make them better and try to adapt. That's the one thing where he either gets his substitutions bang on or he gets them very wrong. He got them very wrong on Saturday against Lazio. He got them very right today against Shura. Like
that's a pattern we've seen for sure. Good shout.
It's so frustrating because like with Lazio, like there are days where like you're like, wow, this guy got it on perfect. And then the next game was like, whoa, what happened?
What game are you watching?
Yeah. Like against against Bayern, we started Musacchio in the back. And I was like, why are we starting this? And then he starts him, he gives up a goal, and then he pulls him off after like 20 minutes.
Oh, I remember that.
Like, you got to stick with him for a half at least. And then you take him out, you bring in Stefan Radu, I believe, and you start playing with things, and it just dismantled everything. Like that's where there's Simone Inzaghi panic, and when Simone Inzaghi panic starts, it's not good, man, because he starts jiggling and ruffling, and I'm surprised he hasn't gone into full scream mode yet on the side of the pitch because he's looked pretty calm for
he has, and I know what you're talking about because I recall some of those scream sessions.
I used to love laughing at them from the other side, but now that he's my manager, I hope he can keep it buttoned up.
But it's all at the end of the day, Juve hasn't impressed me. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think they looked good on Sunday against Roma.
The thing is, like when Max Allegri is your manager, you don't have to look good. You just gotta get results.
Exactly.
That's true, but
they're right on schedule, man. It's scary.
Yeah. But
for those who know, that's exactly what they do. They'll lure you to sleep.
Yeah, bunch of 1-0 wins.
1-0 wins, ugly wins, and the next thing you know, they're climbing up the table.
Yep.
I think Inter needs the first goal in this game, or else it's doomsday, man.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, you're right because when an Allegri team scores first, that's when they tighten up. Yeah.
Hate it, man. I fell asleep on Sunday for how boring it was. It was just so bad. Inzaghi is calm because he knows it's my Scudetto.
This guy's a legend. Lord Figo is my favorite follow on Twitter.
Again, if there's a guy who can do it, man, I think it's Inzaghi still. And lastly is the beauty about football. It's different compared to like Dave. Where do you live in North America?
Yeah, okay. I'm in Miami.
Yeah, he lives down by me.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. So when you watch the NHL, I don't say the NFL because the NFL is exactly like European football, where there's 16 weeks, and if you lose one game, it really matters.
Yeah.
And you need to win the next week. It's exactly like soccer, okay? Slash football, however people want to call it.
Yeah.
Now, when you watch hockey for me, there's 82 games in a season.
Mm-hmm.
You win tomorrow, great. You lose tomorrow, doesn't matter.
There's some games that are throwaways.
Yeah. In football, every game is different.
Counts,
as much as Lazio dominated on Saturday, that might not be the case next Sunday where Inter comes out stronger and it's a whole new ball game. Like with football, it's so different for me because, and that's the beauty about playing 38 weeks is that you don't know what to expect a lot of the time. Where the crappiest team, look on Monday, Fiorentina lost, and
to Venezia,
and before that game they played very well against Napoli.
Yeah, and they looked terrible.
Yeah, and Inter. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So like anything's possible. Like as much as we say, oh, this is what they need to do. This is what. Yeah, we can say all we want, but with football, every game varies from game to game, and each team, each team matches up differently. Maybe the fact that Lazio were able to beat Inter is because they kind of their team kind of balances out against them, where they got a good striker. Like we were saying this, I had Mario and Anthony last week, and I said
That was a good show. I watched that one the other day.
and I said
I
to
love
him,
that.
your back line's better than our back line. But funny, our back line miraculously did better than yours. When it had to step up, it stepped up, and it stepped up with Patrick.
100%. 100%.
Our midfield, I thought Brozovic did a freaking hell of a job. Like
they need to re-sign that man yesterday.
Yeah.
But
Milenkovic-Savic is just Milenkovic-Savic, man.
Yeah. And
no matter how
he's
good
great.
Playing,
he's great, period. But he always plays exceptionally well against Inter. Savic, he's always a great player, but he tends to always score against Inter.
And then you got the striker position, Immobile, where I gave it 50-50 because Dzeko's is just equally as balanced as good. I think Dzeko's good on his best day too. Mm-hmm. For the best part, neither striker were impactful on open pitch though. So and open play. So as much as Immobile scored from the spot, people have to remember he didn't score from open play. So I kind of just balance it. So that's how I see it, man. Like it's a midfield where, and I know people are gonna say Gagliardini hide Savic in his pocket. Yeah, you can say that all you want, but at the end of the day, Savic scored.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Brozovic was levels on him. Okay, but when you needed Brozovic to score a goal, was he there? No. When Savic needed to score a goal, was he there? Yes. And I get that Brozovic is a CDM, but he has the ability to score too. He's shown that.
Yeah, he's got a good shot.
That's the difference between a complete player like Savic, who has the ability to game in and game out step up against bigger teams. Now, take that scenario and go to Juventus now. I think Inter has a better defense. I think that Inter has a better midfield. And I think the striker position is well balanced.
Midfield for sure. As far as the defense goes, on their best day, yes, but the way they've been playing lately, give the edge to you.
But you do, but you still got to go with what you have, and what you have is Inter. And like I said, Inter on its best day, you never know what can happen on Sunday.
That's true.
I've seen Inzaghi go 2 bad games and go 1 amazing game. And then another amazing game. I've seen what he can do. And I go on the balance that Inter is the better side in this match, regardless of what form Juventus is in right now. And you know what? Juve is playing at St. Petersburg tomorrow. And that's a travel, man. You're going to Russia. Like, it's not – I saw last year Lazio played in St. Petersburg, and that was not an easy match.
No.
They had their fans there. They were allowed to have fans. And I remember Caicedo scored the tying goal in the 80th minute. And don't ask me how I remember these things, by the way. But he scored the tying goal, and that was a very difficult match. I saw Chelsea, St. Petersburg in the opening match of Champions League, and Chelsea struggled. And St. Petersburg is a good team. They have some quality. They're going to make it hard for Juventus tomorrow. That's not going to be a walk in the park kind of game. It's going to be
make sure I'm watching.
Yeah, you watch, man. It's not going to be a 5-1 game. If Juventus to win, it's going to be like 2-1, 1-0. Don't think it's going to be a blowout personally, but again, I could be wrong, but
whatever it is, I just hope they expend the maximum amount of energy. And that's what I'm asking.
And that they have multiple travel delays, like they get delayed on their plane coming back and all that. But listen, we'll wrap it up on this note. I want to send a huge.
I want to say Lukaku. Everyone's saying Lukaku struggling at Chelsea. I'll make this quick and simple. Mm-hmm. He should never have left in the first place. I'll give us 2 players, Immobile and Felipe Anderson. And I say contrast. When Felipe Anderson was sold and left, he had no choice. He didn't want to leave. But when he was sold, he was never the same player again. Downgraded into the EPL. Came back to Lazio. He's been on a tear. Mm-hmm. Certain players sit in certain teams. Lukaku strived perfectly at Inter. Now, would he have done as good under Inzaghi? We don't know. But the league is perfect for him. Now
Yeah,
he goes
and also he knows those teammates so well.
Yeah, you go to EPL, the style of play does not work him. Like Tuchel plays suicide football. Like it's sit back and defend. It's not. They don't benefit to how he plays. They don't attack enough. They don't push up high in order to have a number 10 behind him to play someone alongside him. And he strives in a 3-5-2. I don't even think they're playing in a 3-5-2 right now. I could be wrong. I think they're playing a
3-4-3.
Yeah,
most times.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, those are factors, man, that are not helping him. And like, and actually, a side point. Apparently, Felipe Anderson had the game of his life on Saturday, also because he had revenge against Inzaghi. So apparently, Inzaghi didn't want him at Lazio anymore, and kind of casted him out of the lineup. And he had some vendetta that he wanted to prove to him that he made a mistake getting rid of him, and that he had a player had Inzaghi never had Lazio never sold Felipe Anderson, we would look like a different team the last 3 seasons. Honestly, go look at his stats. His stats with Lazio is incredible. He leaves Lazio, ghost.
Nothing.
I don't get it, man. There are certain, like I said, if you take Immobile out of Lazio, he's not the same player. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He could play for any team in Serie A. He'll never be the same. I just don't think he'll be the same, man. He has the right system, the right foundation, the right players. Like, there's a reason why Alberto and Savage haven't been sold yet, and I think it's because their partnership with Immobile. I think it's like a trident that they all work together and they have like this relationship together. Like, look at the way Savage celebrated that goal. That's a guy who like wants to be at Lazio. It's not just a guy who just wants to win and that's it. There's a difference, you know what I mean? Like,
he clearly wants to be there because if he didn't, he could have forced a move, right?
Yeah,
because
he's had plenty of opportunities. Yep.
It's not like there's no demand. Like the 5 biggest clubs in the world would all want to have that guy. He could have left now if he wanted to.
And I say the same thing for Brozovic. He's not going anywhere. Brozovic is not leaving Inter.
Even Beppe Marotta, who's a straight shooter. Like he doesn't lie when he does his media conferences. I mean, maybe he won't tell you the truth about like ownership stuff because that's not really his business. But when it comes to like players, like he even said, Brozovic he's turned down other offers. He wants to be here, so we're going to try to work it out. So, and I take him at his word at that.
And the last part is Thomas Strakosha was the best. I saw a picture I tweeted out of him celebrating on top on the 3rd goal, and I didn't actually put 2 and 2 together. He was the most happiest actually, because of what happened last year. And here's a flaw from Inzaghi. He casted out Strakosha for no reason out of the lineup. Like, he got COVID. He had an injury. When he came back to the lineup, he didn't play. And he just kept on starting with Pepe Reina. Like, can you imagine being that goalkeeper where you helped your team win trophies 4 years in a row, got back to the Champions League, and when you got back to the Champions League, and after you got COVID and things, you were no longer the starter for Champions League. And you were replaced by a 39-year-old. No disrespect, because he's still a good player. But he should be a backup, not a starter. You need to look at your future. You got a 25-year-old on the bench. And he should be the guy playing right now. Not a freaking 39-year-old who's got 1 year left maybe in him. Yeah. And that's why he was celebrating right in front of Inzaghi. There's a lot of players on Lazio, which I didn't really know, do not like him at all. I was like, wow, this is like, because we always talk about how family, this team's united, this team's tight together. And then when you see players cheering against your previous manager, it's like, maybe it wasn't as tight as you think it was, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Correa left for a reason. So, yeah, I'm done.
If he left for a reason, I don't think he would be joining the same manager. So that clearly wasn't the reason.
Well, no, it doesn't have to be. He wanted to join because of Inzaghi, but we don't know what other.
Maybe he was on Inzaghi's side more.
Yeah,
exactly. That's a good point. That's a good point. We'll wrap up the episode on that note. Dave, can't thank you enough for taking some time. Let people know where they can find you, sir.
Hey guys, man, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. Jerry, always a pleasure chatting with you. Alex, I'm at Forza Inter 80. I'm on Twitter. I'm always talking crap. I'm not hard to find.
We have
If you
to
guys-
meet up at some point, man. It's crazy that we, I don't know how many
We're
miles
so
away.
close, man. Like for real.
Yeah,
The
we're
next
probably
big
within
game,
like 30
let's-
miles of one another. We got to make some shit happen
what
here,
do you-
man.
Yeah,
your-
next big
what's your
game. Let's
score?
get together, man.
What's your score for
What was that?
Sunday? What's your
Score
prediction?
prediction?
I have 2-1 Inter.
I like that.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
can
go
go with
2-1
that.
Inter.
I can go with that. I think we go 2-1 Inter all across. You know what? I'm gonna go 2-2 because I don't want to mush it.
Oh, come
Thank
on.
you. 'Cause I already mushed it, I think.
When Lazio played Inter, everybody asked me. I honestly thought Lazio was gonna win, but I stuck with the 2-2 score, man. I was like, no fucking way.
You
man.
don't want
put
to
it
jinx
out
it,
there.
yeah.
Oh, fuck away, man. There's certain games I can.
Fingers crossed.
Depends who it is. Like if it's like Lazio Spal, I'll give you an honest opinion. Yeah, Lazio.
Yeah,
will
because
say.
you know, yeah.
You would think not always true, but doesn't all happen. But like certain marquee matches, I just don't bother, man, because it's like it's hard. So, but I like your prediction, and I like the jersey too.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Huge thanks to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for taking time out of your
Thanks, guys.
evening. Yeah, make sure you follow Jerry and all his work, J Mancini 8. Follow Dave at Forza Inter Haiti. Follow me at Alex Donno, and we will talk to you guys again on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.
Again.